Hello everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Today's video is going to be about a topic that has been on my heart and my mind for a bit of time right now. So, it's a topic that I've been in the feminine energy world for a little bit of time, and I've heard people say different things about the results that they have gotten being in that space. And so today's video, we're going to focus in on those who are feeling like they are getting lost in that feminine energy world and are becoming more either lazy or not accomplishing their goals as a result. So, if that sounds like you, then this video is for you specifically. So, I am like super excited about this one, and it's something that I'm also not fully yet done in terms of realizing what exactly I believe in this space, but it's something that I want to share with you all. So, I believe that when you are in the space of putting on or trying to become more of a feminine energy person, or like, play up your feminine energy so that you can accomplish something in one way, shape, or form, that kind of goes against the principles of feminine energy in and of itself. Because if we look at what are feminine traits versus what are masculine traits tend to be those that are a little bit more in terms of like trying to get at a particular goal, trying to accomplish a particular thing. So, if you are using feminine energy in order to try and accomplish something or to get an end result, like for example, in the dating world or whatever else it is, then that in and of itself kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. So, I do want to go back to what I mentioned earlier in terms of like people or hearing women talk about feeling lazier or like they're not accomplishing their goals as a result of being in this space. And I believe that this can be attributed to one thing, and that is likely that we have stopped honoring and leveraging the masculine traits that we all possess within us, right? If we know for a fact that we as people have both feminine and masculine energy within us to varying degrees depending on whether we are women, whether we are men, then if we push too far into the feminine because we want to disown or kind of neglect those masculine traits within us, then we are pretty much disowning and neglecting part of our natural essence, like the truth of who we are at our core. Because like I mentioned, we have both energies to varying degrees. So the question now is, how do we integrate those two in a way that actually feels natural to ourselves, like integrating both the masculine and the feminine? Um, because I don't believe that it should be a one size fits all approach. Like, if we are all learning feminine energy from one individual, then we are all trying to fit into the mold of what that one individual believes feminine energy to be. So that's where I think like really looking at and honoring and leveraging those masculine traits will help us get back to accomplishing goals, will help us get back to not necessarily feeling lazy, but using these two energies in a way that's actually going to add to our life and not take away from it. So, I also want to state that this video is not about balancing both feminine and masculine energies, because I don't necessarily believe that that is the right approach. This is really truly about how to come back to yourself as a person who has these two types of energies within yourself, and then accepting the fact that we do have some masculine traits within us and learning how to not only honor those but actually leverage them so that we can feel more naturally ourselves and live a full life according to who we are, with like full sovereignty and without holding back any part of ourselves, um, especially a part of ourselves that's actually very useful to our own expansion and getting everything that we desire out of life. So that's what we're going to dive into. This video is about coming back to yourself, because I believe the danger in saying you need to be more feminine is that, well, we are already feminine, right? Like, we've already been given this natural energy, and it's all about coming back to that natural energy and not trying to take bits and pieces of other people's definition of femininity. It's about creating your own. So let's dive into that. I want to say, give this video a like if this is something you're very curious about, if this is a world that you personally are into and want to learn to come back to yourself. And if you haven't already done so, do subscribe. For those of you who are new here, hello, my name is Lini. And for the past 15 years of my life and career, it has been an adventure and consistent exploration and consistent growth towards my own personal North Star, my own life mission. And I also love to use my intuitive gifts to help other people do the same for themselves in their lives. So, diving right in. Okay, so honoring and leveraging the natural masculine energy. And this is not about becoming more masculine. This is literally about who are you already, and taking notice of what that is, and maybe noticing, like, okay, I might have a few masculine, quote unquote, masculine characteristics within me naturally. And, for example, if you have been in the work world for any period of time, you will naturally pick up a more masculine essence through that process. It doesn't mean that you have become fully masculine or anything like that. It's just you pick up habits, you pick up characteristics, or you already naturally possess some of those habits. You already maybe naturally possess some of those characteristics, and being in a working or corporate environment brings those out of you a lot more. And so it's not about saying that, okay, if we're going to embrace or honor or even leverage masculine energy more in our lives, it doesn't mean that we are going down the route of becoming more masculine. No, it's about looking at what's already naturally within us. And then how can we use those things? How can we say, thank you so much for being here? Thank you so much for helping me accomplish everything I have been able to accomplish in my life so far. And in addition to that, how can I continue to leverage those characteristics in order to create more and more and more, continue to expand as a person, continue to expand in terms of the life that I live, in terms of the things that I accomplish, the dreams that I go after, pursuing all of the desires of my heart. And I do think that if we're doing that level of honoring, that level of using these traits to the best of our ability, then there's a level of wisdom that comes into play in terms of learning or understanding what's appropriate, what energy is appropriate to use in what particular setting. So before we begin, major disclaimer, like, don't take anything from any video, including this one, and don't make any sudden decisions, any sudden changes to your life in accordance to what you hear in this video or any other video for that matter. Literally listen to the information, absorb the information, and then afterwards reflect on the information and decide what makes sense for you and what is the best path for you. So the way I like to think about masculine energy and feminine energy is that they complement each other, right? So where you might have feminine energy being more nurturing, you will have masculine energy adding more of the structure. So if you think of a typical household, while the if a child is crying, or I don't know, doing misbehaving, you might think of the feminine energy doing more of like the soothing, the calming, like the nurturing, while the masculine might be setting more rules and making sure that there are boundaries and things are in order. So that's complementary, right? Because a child in that case needs a bit of both, right? They need a little bit of the discipline, and they also need a little bit of the soothing so that they can learn how to navigate this world at large. So it's the same exact thing within ourselves. If we go too far into the feminine energy world, then there are times where we might even put ourselves in danger, because if we take just that one trait, for example, nurturing, and we go out into the world and we're leaning too far into this nurturing energy, when we come across people, naturally there might be conflict, there might be dangerous people out in the world. And if we're just only giving our nurturing, feminine, more softer side, then where do we keep ourselves safe? So if I think about it in terms of like, um, a man being a woman's protector when they're out and about, right? What happens when you're by yourself? Like if you're not with that more masculine person by your side to keep you safe, to keep you protected, you have to protect yourself. So then that's where you will leverage some more of that masculine energy, right? Like you don't just go out there and be all feminine without and neglect that masculine energy that you might need in order to like be assertive, to be your own protector, to decide, make quick decisions as to what is right for you and what is not right for you. So that's that first thing. And the next thing is about understanding truly like what is the difference between masculine strength and female power. Like, I want to make a clear distinction there, right? Because if you think about femininity, it's not just soft, it's not just nurturing. There's also a very deep, dark, mysterious energy within it. There's a lot of power, there's a lot of strength, but it just doesn't look like the way you might think typical strength looks like, which is probably more likely the masculine strength, right? So to me, female power is a lot about influence. It's a lot about collaboration, leadership, from the perspective of emotional intelligence, right? So you're able to lead and influence in a way that is a little bit more conducive to a nurturing environment is a little bit more conducive to a collaborative environment, um, rather than like being hardcore competitive or really super, super, super assertive. It's more about being assertive, but under this level of kindness. In my perspective, that's how I view more of the feminine power. So if you look at it from that perspective, then it's like there is a place for masculine strength with a layer of feminine power on top of it. So that's what I mentioned in terms of assertiveness, right? If you have that assertiveness under the surface, but on the surface, you use a little bit more of the emotional intelligence, a little bit more of the soft influence, a little bit more of the collaboration in order to use both. So in that case, you're leveraging the masculine assertiveness or groundedness with a little bit more of the feminine creativity or yeah, collaborative part of you. So yeah, I really like to understand what other people's interpretation of feminine and masculine energy is. So for those of you who are watching the replay, I would love to hear what your definition of masculine or your interpretation of masculine and feminine energy is. So the last couple of things I will say about this subject is in regards to using these two energies. In my observations so far, where I believe it comes in handy the most is understanding what is an appropriate response for different circumstances, different scenarios. So, what do you need specifically in this moment in time? Do you need more of that feminine energy, or do you need more of that masculine energy, or do you need a combination of the two? So this is where feminine energy, masculine energy dynamics becomes very interesting to me, because in one moment you might want to leverage more of that deep feminine creative energy, while in another moment you might want to add a little bit more of that grounded masculine structure. And they can really work very well together when you're using one of those energies in the appropriate moment in time. So, one example of that might be when you are using the quote unquote masculine in order to create a schedule for yourself. that you are going to stick to in order to accomplish a particular goal. You set a deadline for yourself, you add forcing functions on your calendar in order to make sure you get the thing done within a specified period of time. And then that's an appropriate use in that particular moment of your masculine energy. Whereas once those structures are set and the day comes that you have time blocked to do X, Y, and Z thing, then you let your femininity flow within that block of time to be creative, to be nurturing, to be soft, to do all of the things that are needed in terms of doing the actual creation. If you're writing poetry, I don't know what it is like that you've set that masculine structure for, or learning a dance routine, or creating artwork or writing, whatever it is that you're doing, you're using more of that feminine creative energy. So that's what I have to say about this subject for now. I will continue to develop my thoughts on this. And the more I talk to different people about their experience in the feminine energy world, the more I understand what is really happening on under the surface, what is causing people to feel like they're not accomplishing as much as they have in the past, or feeling lazier, feeling like they're dragging their feet in one shape, form, or another, whereas previously they weren't necessarily doing that. So what is really going on? What is really happening under the surface? And yeah, that's one of the things that I personally will continue to look into. And when I'm in the world of, the feminine energy teachers and all of that, one of the things I started thinking about was understanding how someone acts versus why they act that way. So that way, we as individuals who are learning from them can distinguish between what is their flavor of feminine energy versus the reason behind why that flavor of feminine energy works. So if you think about it in terms of, let's say, one particular example, polarity, right? In the masculine versus the feminine, having those two polar opposite energies, and how that brings both together or attracts one to the other, then the feminine person in could be five different people. Each of those five different people will have their own flavor of what their feminine energy looks like. And therefore, the how might be different in terms of like how they display their feminine energy for each of those five individuals. So if those five individuals are each feminine energy teachers and they are trying to teach feminine energy, then they will be doing so in accordance to their individual flavor of that energy. And so it's not necessarily the how they are doing it that I suggest we learn, but why they are doing it. What is the layer below that we can learn for ourselves and understand how our own flavor looks, likes, feels likes, and experiences life. Because, like I mentioned, this is all about coming back to yourself. This is all about not following a template necessarily, but understanding the dynamics of these energies, understanding how that plays out within our own selves, within our own lives, and we can be the unique person we are while leveraging, while honoring these varying parts within ourselves. So that is all I have for you guys today. I will share more as more of these thoughts come to me as I work with more and more people. I do want to share about the feminine get ish done formula that I will be releasing very, very, very soon. I am starting to work on the back end working on the content for that program. And this is going to be for the person that wants to get back to getting stuff done and using these multiple traits, feminine energy, masculine energy, to really do that, and understanding what kind of person you are in terms of how you like to get things done. Are you the starter? Are you the finisher? Or are you the person who needs to collaborate? Are you the person who needs to set a structure for yourself? Or are you more of a free flower? So these are some of the things that we're going to talk about within this program. And we're also going to talk about the blocks that are keeping you from taking action, from doing the stuff that you want to do. So this is all going to be in the description box. We currently have a wait list, so you can add yourself to the wait list and be the first to know when the program is released. So thank you guys so much for being here. I will catch you next time. Bye bye.